pretty sure I'm going to start with this particular tool. All right, let's see if I've got something going here. My name's Dan. Maybe you know that. There you go. We might have something going. Yahoo. All right. Oh, now I just need to turn down the volume on this. Here we go. Hello, friends. My name's Dan. And as perhaps you've seen by the introduction there, I am planning to do something fun. I'm flying by the seat of my pants. This is just something that's been on my mind, my heart, for a while. I am planning to start a new art class. I might be putting it a little bit strongly. I'm planning to start a new art class for wedding painters in particular. So I'm thinking very hard about teaching. That's enough. I'll let the rest of it flow from there. All right, I am going to read the first several chapters to my new book called The Last Sinner. Funny little side note, I started this book about 3 or 4 years ago, and before I started it and before I gave it a title, I did a Google search to see if there was another book by that title, and at the time there was not. Alas, now there is. Somebody, I forget her name, someone who has written 95 novels. So big-time, full-time writer has written a book called The Last Sinner. So that's not really a legal problem, but here we go. So chapter 1, I'm going to read for just about a minute and a half and hope that I'm going to come up with an image to draw from these paragraphs. Ready? Here we go. He had been coming this way for years. At first, it was only rumors, like yellow scraps of newspaper littering the gutter, or snatches of gossip over coffee growing cold. We resisted the tales. It was simply too horrid to believe. So the rumors faded to legend, and the legends faded to myth. Surely no human being could still be out there in the darkness. Then the fateful day came. The watchman's cry sent icy shivers up and down every street and boulevard in the bright and busy city. The myth has put on flesh. From our tallest towers he could be felt more than seen, a shadowy figure, bent and furtive, like a panicked beetle caught in sudden light. He would stagger forward a few steps, freeze mid-stride, turn on his heel and dive behind a scraggly bush or a slab of stone. After dark, hearing him was worse than seeing him. The echoes of his wailing bent strangely among the hills, punching ragged holes in a landscape that had been so serene merely hours before, when the sun had set in glorious festival of gold and violet. Wails of grief or pain they were, certainly, but much worse. The anguished cry of hope lost, hope forsaken. The last sinner was coming home, but he sure was taking his time. All right, that's the beginning of a 90,000 word manuscript that, yes, I hope you will pre-order. In fact, you can go, I have I'll put it in the comments. There's a website, thelastsinner.lovable.app. But that's a little weird, so I'll have to work on that. All right, let's talk about, first of all, the craft, the art of crafting storybook or storytelling illustrations. This is, ironically, one of the most things I enjoy most in the art world is drawing or painting storytelling artwork. But it's one that I've done actually very little of professionally because it hasn't paid the bills. But enough of that. Let's just go and see what happens. I literally have given this virtually no thought. I do not know what it is that I'm going to draw. All I know is I'm going to draw something. And of course, the image in all of our minds, if we just listen to my reading, is of this character. Furtive character, I said he was. I'm opening my drawer to look for perhaps other two. Yeah, blending stuff. Blending stuff. That's what I want. Okay, here we go. All right, a furtive character, and I don't need to draw a landscape. I could just draw the character himself, but my very first impulse is something landscapey. All right, so several things that I do want to teach today. So if you're taking notes, this is time to take notes. I am kind of kidding. I don't really expect anybody to literally take notes. But this is what is perhaps noteworthy. First of all, the tool. And if you're one of my regulars, you've seen this tool before. It's made by Creative Mark, and it's basically a graphite lead holder. Pretty cool. They've made graphite lead holders for centuries, but this is just a high-tech one. So that's what I'm drawing with, if you will, a fat pencil. I have right here, and I may use it, a very fine point, sharp point, 5 millimeter fine point pencil, and we'll see if I use that or not. Why would I start out with a fat pencil instead of a skinny one? Anybody want to answer that question? Why am I starting with a fat pencil instead of a fine point one? If you're saying something like, because the fat pencil gives you less detail, less specificity, can I use that big fancy word? It's more sketchy. All of those descriptions, all of those words are perfectly appropriate. Now, the other thing I would like you to notice right away is how I am holding this fat pencil. That's even more important than the tool itself, is how I'm using the tool. Because I know very, very well that I myself, before the age of blank, I don't know, I would have been holding my pencil just like most of you do, right? Like this. You see it there? Here's the other hand, right? Like this. And why am I not holding it like that? It's a very good question. Thank you for asking. The reason is, can you handle this? I've said this so many times. Let me say it again. Let me look you in the eye while I say it. When you hold a pencil or a brush in the traditional Western civilization, I have no idea about the rest of the world, when you hold a drawing or painting utensil in this manner, you are hardwired to the control, may I say, the control freak center of your brain. Does that make sense? By the way, let me make sure I've got chats on here. I think I do. Okay, please feel free to chat. Let me know if you're watching. When you hold a pencil or brush like this is how we write. This is how we started learning to write at age 4, 5, 6, 7. You're locked into control, 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 control. And that part of your brain is not a very good artist. Now, I do use this grit when I want control, but this is not a time for control. Okay, that's all I'm going to say about that. Now, let me go back to the drawing itself. The next tool, the one I just picked up a little while ago, was a blending stub. Yes, you could do this with your fingers, of course. We've all used our fingers to do this. Why do most of us artists not recommend using our fingers? The reason is quite simple, because your fingers have oil in them. And if you rub your finger, especially aggressively, the way I'm rubbing, not to mention the fact that this probably does a better job of blending, but your finger puts oil on the paper in 5, 10, 15, certainly 20 years, which sounds like an eternity to you young people, but trust me, it is not. That page will start turning all wonderful shades of yellow, orange, and brown. All right, now I'm going to do something just for fun. This is purely aesthetic, just because I like pretty pictures. And if you're an artist, you like pretty pictures too. So I'm simply taking an eraser, standard white eraser, and cleaning up the edges, simply because it'll look nice. Oh, in just a minute, I'm going to say something also about the book that I am writing in. Of course, you don't need to do anything that I am doing. You are you, I am me. But maybe I'm here to influence you. Now, normally, where is it? I've got a brush around here somewhere. Let me see if, oh, good. Right here. Good. This is a tool you don't need to have, but it's just kind of handy. There we go. And I'm going to do even a little bit more. I'm going to give this illustration a border. Not necessary, just to snap it up a little bit. Make it a little bit more interesting to look at. All right? Now, this is landscape. And even though the introduction that I read in the book says that the creature, the last sinner, I'm sure you figured out that's who that was describing, even though it describes him as very dark and creepy, it is not necessarily suggested that the landscape is dark and creepy, although, you know, I would say that there's a little bit of bleed over. A little bit of the creature, the man, the last sinner, is definitely creepy, but the environment is not, and yet I'm feeling, and again, this is me being very intuitive, I'm feeling like, yeah, a little bit. The landscape shouldn't be, you know, roses and daisies and tulips. Birds. Oh yeah, here, let's do some birds. That's a good idea. A couple birds. Now, I was going to talk about the book. This is just one of those funny, for what it's worth. This was given to me by a friend as a Christmas gift about a month ago. This is the last day in January as I speak. And I like sketchbooks, and this is a particularly fine one. Nice cover, fancy lettering. And look at that. I'm just being a little bit artsy. I say, yeah, okay, good. Let's use this. I have scores. No. I have more than a dozen sketchbooks. I've been using them off and on for decades, right? I don't need another sketchbook. But it's kind of nice to have one. And not only that, an attractive one. Ooh, something just happened. Something just fell off my pencil when I wasn't even thinking about it. I just added, see, I thought this was sky down here when I was drawing it originally. But then I drew some lines and said, ooh, oh yeah, distant mountains. Very hazy. I was going to say that when I started drawing these harder lines, you can see those surely, right? When I started drawing these more definitive lines, I was being influenced by the messy lines that were underneath. So that's a really good artistic impulse. That is to be responding, always responding to the environment, even the environment that I, so to speak, just created a few minutes earlier. Always be responding to what you're seeing. Don't be drawing too much. This is general artistic wisdom, I think. Don't be drawing too much from the control, pre-planned, I already got it all figured out side of your brain. Try to draw a lot, paint a lot, from the spontaneous, impulsive, flow state, in the zone place, responding to what's already on the page, not drawing from a great, again, pre-planned control place. All right, I'm going to pick up my blender again. Some of you are saying, wait, I thought you drew with both hands. And I do. Well, I paint with both hands. I don't draw so much sitting down with both hands. Truth be told, but I can. And I'm doing it right now because I'm in a hurry and I tend to be a little more spontaneous when I use two hands. So now I've got two blenders. Of course, you all see I haven't even started the creature, the character described in those opening lines. The next thing I'm going to do is pick up. This is an eraser pencil, and I'm either going to use that or I'm going to use this. I'm not sure which. I'm thinking, by the way, just to give you a sense of expectation, I want to have this particular sketch finished certainly within 15 minutes, maybe within 10. So we'll see. So this is, I'm really thinking sketch. I'm not thinking fully developed. Oh, I know what I want. Here you go. Good, it's got a battery in it. This electric eraser. I remember looking at electric erasers for years when I went into an art store and thinking, good grief, why would anybody ever need an electric eraser? Well, there you go, because it's pretty hard to do that kind of thing right there, isn't it? With a non-electric eraser. There you go. I've got a kneaded eraser right now for a little bit more softness in the erasing process. I've just about lost those birds that I put in there. That's all right. I can put them back in again if I so choose. We'll see. Now I want some, and now I am, see, holding this eraser in the traditional control grip. Sorry, you were out of the picture there for a second. Sorry about that. I'll try not to let that happen too often. So I'm visualizing this is like a washed out area of earth, right? A ravine, if you will. This is a ravine, perhaps. And here we're doing a little bit of landscape teaching here for a minute. One of the most important ways that that an artist conveys the feeling of distance in a landscape, one of the most important tools is horizontal lines. Can you see that already? Those lines give a sense that the land is receding from the viewer. And I'm just going to kind of, as I've been doing all along, letting this landscape, such as it is, fade out. Let me go back to the fat pencil again. Maybe for my last layer of dark detail, you might see my blinds open behind me there. This is January 30th, and all the childlike hearts in Raleigh, North Carolina today are praying for snow. They've been saying all week long that we're going to get snow today. We were supposed to get snow last night, and so far we've had 4 snowflakes blow past our window. So we're getting a little bit nervous because we're afraid we might not get snow. Again, all the childlike hearts in town are hoping for snow. So you let me know if you see any flakes start going by the window behind me there. I live in Raleigh, North Carolina, have been here since 1989, so 36 and a half years as we speak. I grew up mostly in Michigan, I was born in Canada to Canadian parents. They immigrated to Michigan when I was 7, 8 months old. And I've been here ever since. And then went to high school for a couple years in Ohio, Cleveland. And then back to Michigan, then graduated from college and went to seminary, grad school in Fort Worth, Texas. Met my wife down there, and we lived in Texas, then Minnesota. Our 2 kids were born in Minnesota. Our 2 biological children were born in Minnesota. And then we moved back to Texas and then moved to Raleigh in 1989. So there you go. That was half my lifetime ago. The other half of my life has been lived quite contentedly in the fair city of Raleigh, North Carolina. Yeah, let's put my birds back in. All right, I'm ready to start thinking about this figure, the last sinner who you heard me described, his approach described in the book. My initial thought was to put him way back here, just coming over the top of the hill, and that would certainly, accomplish. The problem with that, in this case, is it doesn't give me much fun, the fun of doing a figure. So I don't want to do that. I want to do him up close. And yeah. So I'm thinking now, I'm racing up a space where perhaps he might go. I'm thinking. I described him as dodging behind a scraggly bush. So maybe I might put a bush here in the foreground. Back to holding my drawing tool in the sketching grip. I draw a distinction between sketching and drawing, or between creativity and control, between flow state and control state. And I like to stay in flow state as long as possible. All right, so you see there, head. He's got scraggly hair, a scraggly beard. He's wearing a loincloth. That is all. I wrote the book, so I know what happened, where it's going. I know more information than you do at this point. His torso looks entirely too large there. He's not at all muscular. He's quite wizened. Wizened. How do you pronounce that word? W-I-Z-E-N-E-D. That means shriveled and dried up, especially when pertaining to an old person. He's very wizened. I really don't know if it's wizened or weazened. I find myself not sure what to do with his legs, so I can... Oh, there. Okay, that's not bad. So this one going up and forward, and this one trailing behind him. Loincloth. I certainly don't want him looking like he's smiling. This creature has not smiled in roughly 10,000 years. All right, that's enough of that. I'm going to pick up now a fine point. I'm not sure I'm ready. Yeah, I guess I'll proceed. I'm still tempted to draw. Yeah, I'm not ready to go to control grip yet. So that's one of the things I'm kind of hoping that you'll notice and maybe perhaps take note of. The difference between the creative grip, that's a good way to put it, the creative grip and the control grip. Now there's several things that I want to say about figure drawing, and this is a good time to start talking about some of those. First of all, I don't do figure drawing nearly as good as some people do. Certainly, I do better than most human beings, but let's just limit the conversation to professional artists, shall we? So I do figure drawing better than many, but there are several. Usually, though, well, people like graphic novel artists, in the older days known as dramatic comic book artists, are amazing. And people who do figurative paintings all the time, I can't hold a candle to them. But for someone whose job is not full-time figure, I'm fairly okay. All right, but there's a couple things I want to say. First of all, to the degree that I am any good at all, it is because I've, to some extent, a fair extent, I've done my homework in the realm of figure drawing. Homework is two things: the power of observation, looking at a person or a figure and drawing them. There's something I don't like about him. First of all, his legs are too small compared to his upper torso, but that might be because of several things. So bear with me while I think I had his waist a little. He was a little bit too long-waisted. That's better. The other thing that I'm not happy about is his head is held straight, and I don't think his head should be straight. It should be tilted one way or the other, and it should be furtive is one of the words that I think was used. Let me try it. So I'm going to try it, first of all, slanting to his left, our right. Let me see how I like that. And looking down a little bit more. Okay, that's what that looks like. Now let's try it. That's okay. Let me come back to that. Aren't erasers great? Now let's try it the other way. His head tilting the other way. And again, looking down a little bit. I'm undecided. Let me flesh this out a little bit and see how if I like the way it develops. And then in a second, I'm going to go back to talking about homework, figure drawing homework. And this is part of the reason I'm saying, this is because I'm going to be teaching this quite a bit in my new wedding painting academy. And by the way, yes, you may sign up for this class, even though it's specifically for wedding painters. It will relate to every kind of painting with an emphasis on figure and face. So if you really want to be part of that, stay tuned. I'll be talking more about it in the weeks and months to come. There's nothing for you to click on yet, but there will be soon. All right. Other than his immediate face, I think I like that attitude. His head is a little bit large, which is good because that gives the sense that his body is small. And that is certainly the case. This creature has been, in the story, he's been out in his self-imposed darkness for centuries, possibly even millennia. So he is a little bit like Gollum in Lord of the Rings, the creature Gollum. He is literally deformed because of his isolation. All right, let me pause there for just a second and grab some visual aids. This is homework. I'm going to show you, and if you're an old timer, you've seen this before, the 3 best books on figure drawing ever made. This is George Bridgman's Life Drawing. There's several books like this. He was the primary figure artist, figure teacher at the Art Student League of New York 100 years ago, 1920s. Classic George Bridgman. Number 2, a little bit less well known, but really worth knowing. This Drawing the Hidden Figure by Jack Ham. Let me switch cameras here for a minute because I want to show you the contents of this book. What you have to get over with Jack Ham, he worked in the 1960s, and what you have to get over is the old-fashioned the style of a woman in particular, that looks like Dorothy from Wizard of Oz a little bit. So it just looks like, and if you're not careful, if you don't have your artist brain on, that could be a little off-putting to you. Even these look like, 1950s and 60s drawings. So if you're an artist, don't be put off by that, because the thing that Jack Ham does, as far as I know, better than anybody else, except I hope to match him someday. He has mnemonic devices and explanations and analysis, not anatomical, like medical student analysis. No, but visual analysis, like nobody's business. And so he's just brilliant at helping you remember. The hard part about physical human anatomy is there is so much information, it's hard to remember it all. So Jack Ham gives it to us in a form that can be remembered. And by the way, here's some pages. Whenever you do a book like Jack Ham's, it doesn't do you any good unless you draw and copy the things that he has in the book. So that's just some of my pages of drawing Jack Ham. And then the third book is this one here. It's Andrew Loomis. He worked in the 40s, and there's another book drawing the head and something, head and face anyway. And Andrew Loomis is he is absolutely just a freak of nature. His draftsmen, all of these men, they all happen to be men, that's not important. All 3 of them are exquisite draftsmen. And it's not, that does not refer to the accuracy of their lines. It refers to the fluidity and nature and beauty of the lines themselves. All 3 of them are good. Of the 3, Andrew Loomis is probably the best. So his drawings are beautiful, just unbelievable. And so those are the 3, in my opinion, 3 greatest books. This is available as a PDF download. You can put it on your phone. In fact, I think all 3 of these are available for free. I'm not sure. I'll just say one more thing when it comes to doing your homework. The one thing that George Bridgman does that none of these other books do, and most, and I, by the way, on the shelf behind me here, I have at least 20 artist anatomy books. And the thing that most of those artists, in my opinion, get wrong is that they focus on the female figure. Now, I understand that because according to my philosophy, the male is good, but the female is better. God created Adam, then he said, I can do one better, and he created Eve. That's being a little bit whimsical with the story there. But the reason I believe, and George Bridgman does this right, he's the only one that does, you start with the male figure. If you can only learn, because it's too much information, so you have to start somewhere, learn to draw the male, because if you can draw the male, you can easily transition to the female with modifications. Modifications. The same is not true in reverse. If you can draw a female, you're lost as a goose when it comes to drawing a male. So George Bridgman he does female, but he focuses on the male figure. Let me put it this way. On the male, the muscles are seeable. So you learn to draw the male because you can see the muscles. On the female, the muscles are almost unseeable, almost invisible. Not really, but almost. So if you learn how to draw the muscles, it's easy to smooth them off and tone them down, and you have a female. Whereas if you can learn how to draw a female, you can't go the other direction. So that's for what it's worth. All right, that's enough of homework. I've done a fair amount of homework. I'll be talking more about that. I've always talked about it here and there. Let's go back now to the drawing I'm working on at the moment. And I'm afraid I'm already past my 10 or 15 minute allotment. But there you go. It's partly because, of course, I'm blathering to you guys. His light is coming from his left, our right. So, and I'm definitely using the control grip now, as you can see. I'm going to blend all of this in a minute. Let me see, loincloth, yeah, just a flat panel, I guess. And I am going to do another sketch from this book soon, I hope. And I'll do a figure much larger than this. It's a little bit hard to talk about the specificities of figure drawing when the figure is only 1, 2, 2.5, 2 3/4 inches tall. But one of the things I want to say about figure drawing is that if you can develop an attractive hand, if you can develop a drawing style that the nature, and I referred to this in the 3 books I just showed you, the nature of the line itself, irregardless of its accuracy, if you can draw with I'll call it a mature hand, a good-looking hand, a good-looking line, then your figure drawings will appear to be more accurate than they actually are. Does that make sense? Let me give you a specific example. Many times over the years, I've taught drawing classes or figure classes specifically, and I will set up either from a picture or a model, or what I often do in my classes, I have each person in the class takes turn clothes on, you understand, and takes turns standing up, and we sketch and they sketch me as well. And one of the things that became obvious in these classes is that my drawings always looked better than the students. Please bear with me. I'm not bragging. I am simply making a point. Why did mine look better? And the reason was not because, it was more accurate than students, but I got credit for accuracy more than I deserved. Same that I'm probably, I hope, doing here, because the nature of the lines themselves were winsome, pleasant, free, spontaneous. They felt good. The lines themselves that I drew, that I used, that I employed to draw the figure, the lines themselves were pleasant. Therefore, when the human eye, your eye, falls upon the drawing, it gives you good feeling, and you convey that, you translate that into the assumption of anatomical correctness. I'm sort of letting you in on a little art professor's secret. Now, I don't want it to be a secret because I want you guys to know it. All right. So I should probably wind up there. Please leave some chats. Those of you who haven't left a comment at this point. I may edit this video and release it as a regular video. I don't know. We'll see. Right now, what I'm trying to accomplish is a little bit of lost edges on the light side, on the sunny side of this character. I want some of his details to disappear. Strange looking guy, isn't it? I'm not sure about the bow-legged stance that I ended up with. I'm not sure that was a good choice, but be that as it may, it's done now. Just a little bit more sketching, and I'll call it quits. I want his loincloth to look as though it's just strips of rags. A little bit of detail on his face. Wild hair. A little bit here. I want to erase. I think he's got a giant thumb. There we go. That's better. Let's lose this hand even more into a dark zone. All right. It's not great. Although, you know what I'm probably going to do off camera when you guys leave me? I am going to pick up a felt tip pen and actually do ink on top of this. That will be kind of fun. But for now, I'm going to say goodbye. And I hope to see you again soon. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.